Impact of Educational Leadership. This is part 4. I'm your host, Isaiah Jerome III. Tonight, we have Professor Jeff Willey. Professor Jeff Willey is he's an executive director with the John Maxwell team, specializing in personal growth and leadership development. Professor Willey is an educational consultant, a conflict resolution trainer, mediator, with over 30 years in conflict mediation, and a former facilitator of Franklin Covey, 7 Habits of Effective People. Professor Willey currently travels, presenting high-level church, school, leadership, and personal growth workshops throughout the United States and throughout parts of West Africa. Professor Willey is married to his high school sweetheart, Pat, for over 42 years. They've been married and they have 2 daughters. Dr. Katrina Willey Musoma, she's a pediatrician, and Ursula Willey, she's an attorney, and 1 grandson, Nathan. Our next guest is the incomparable Dr. Dorothea Walter, originally from the Bronx, New York, and Los Angeles area in California. Dr. Walter obtained a Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration from the University of Albany. Her master's is in psychology from the UOP, University of Phoenix, and a PhD from Grand Canyon University. Dr. Walter is also a licensed life coach. She's also a dissertation content expert and a doctoral tutor. She mentors many people working on their dissertations and doctorates and thesis. She also has served for 25 years in the airline industry. And Dr. Walter is the president of the Brokenness to Healing Foundation, where she is heavily engaged in community activities all throughout California, Texas, and New York. She also travels, presenting high-level workshops and training in the United States and abroad. She has been the keynote speaker at several universities and religious organizations in Africa. Dr. Walter and Dr. Willey, say hello to the people.
Hello. Great being here this evening.
Hello. It is absolutely my pleasure. I'm very humbled to be part of this continuation of this podcast, and certainly my thanks to you, Dr. Drone, for inviting myself and Dr. Walter to be part of what you are doing and how you're reaching out to the community. So I am forever blessed because of your leadership.
All right. Well, listen, I'm so excited. I cannot wait. We've been talking. We've been going back and forth. We've been researching, and now here we are. Now we have it. So let's go ahead and get started here. Now, every successful organization needs effective leaders to increase commitment levels of the employees and their job satisfaction. Professor Jeff Willey, describe educational commitment and the way it affects students' learning.
Dr. Drone and Dr. Walter, what a phenomenal way to start this discussion out. And you have definitely touched on a very, very emotional, sensitive topic in regards to the commitment. And it says effective leaders increase commitment of the employees, level of the employees and job satisfaction. And now you want to segue that into educational commitment and to student success and student learning outcomes. There's a former president by the name of Theodore Roosevelt, and he came out with this quote many years ago, and I'll just try to quote it directly, but it says, "Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care." That's in every aspect of life, whether you're in the educational realm, whether you're in the job market, whether you're in religious organizations, or in a nonprofit. And people don't know, they don't care how much you know until they know that you care. The art of communicating and connecting with people, that is key components of dealing with relationships and connecting with students. Significantly important that you're able to connect with students. And you'll see a lot of things that's surfacing right now in trying to build those relationships. And I'm going to quote from a book that I had part in taking place, help writing in a few minutes, a book by author by the name of Larry Davis, and I was a contributor to the book. And the title of the book is The Re-Education of the African American Child in Today's School Society. And I'm going to give you a couple things that I actually added to the content of the book. But you've probably been around education long enough to realize that there's an emerging thing about the relationships. Relationships are important. I'll touch on that in a minute. But there's a couple of what I call workshops and certifications that I have under my portfolio. And one of those is Capturing Kids' Hearts. Capturing Kids' Heart, the founder of that is a psychologist by the name of Flip Flippin out of College Station, Texas. And he travels around the globe with his team of facilitators going into schools and working on capturing kids' hearts. How do you capture kids' hearts? Because remember, I am not going to learn from someone that I don't like. I am not going to learn from someone that don't like me. You might think so, but in essence, you are not reaching your full potential in that classroom or in a relationship if there's not a liking or care for that person. And a person knows when you care. No matter how much you articulate the lesson plan in that classroom, if that student don't know that you care for them, they're not listening. They are tuned out, and they are thinking about the person that do care for them. And so Capturing Kids' Hearts has done a wonderful job. I've actually attended the training as a student, and then I actually attended certification training as a trainer back in December of 2016. Got a chance to meet that phenomenal faculty and staff in College Station that travels around this country and going into schools. And a lot of the schools in the Dallas-Fort Worth area has that program in their schools. And there's another one that I actually went to Atlanta back in October 2016. It's called Time to Teach. How do you get that time back to be able to manage that classroom? The shift is we're teaching teachers not only to manage the classroom, but we teach them to be proactive leaders in that classroom, is to establish the parameters and establish those guidelines and those expectations, high expectations, because all students can learn, but they know when you don't have hope in them. If you have hope in them and you hold them for high expectations, they will learn. And you have to always believe that students can learn, no matter what their current situation, their social, economic challenge, their background, the current things that are going on in their home or the environment. If you build a relationship with them, you can capture their heart. You can get back that time to teach. The book that I want to talk about, it comes out of the Re-Education of the African American Child. And one of the R's that comes out, I'm going to talk about a couple of things in that, and I'm going to probably end with my words. One of the first things that come out of the R's is relationships. You have to build a relationship. Get to know your students. You want to spend a couple of days not on lecture. You want to get the relationship connected first. Maslow hierarchy of needs. You want to work on Maslow before you deal with the taxonomy, because that relationship, Maslow was about relationships and knowing that person. So you got to build those relationships. You got to recognize that person as a human being and respect them, and also set a parameter of responsibility. In other words, empowerment and trust. And you got to have the resources available for those students to learn. And sometimes those students come to your classroom, and they haven't eaten. They have socioeconomic challenges at home. Sometimes they might not qualify for a free or reduced lunch. You as an educator and as campus, as educators, leaders, you must recognize that. And I think our current system right now is doing a much better job in connecting with our students and challenging them. And so that comes out of that. One of the things that out of this is that we need teachers who like children. Now, you would think that would be automatic. That would be automatic. But let me tell you, that's not automatic. We need teachers who like children. There are some educators that do not like children. And that's part of their rite of passage. That's a legacy in their family. Their grandmother, grandfather were educators. Their parents were educators, and they thought this was the thing that was right for me. So I became educators. And so this is part of my education, abstract from my education philosophy that I have. Is written in this book, and I have it as well as part of my education philosophy. Connecting with students is a major part of student learnings. Connecting with students will open them up to believe and receive. Once students know you care, I have credibility, or you have credibility. See, sometimes students may be required to take my class. That don't mean they desire to be in my class if I haven't connected with them. And then once I connect with those students, the paradigm takes place. Student achievement increases. Educators must set those high expectations and model and reinforce those expectations in a positive manner, not in a negative manner. Everything reinforcement can be, must be positive, because if you reinforce it in a negative way, you are disenfranchising that young man or woman. So the relationship must be positive. It has to be positive. You can tell a son or daughter or a young person in your room to correct their behavior in a very, very positive way. It takes practice. It takes a commitment to loving your children. It takes a commitment on those educational leaders, loving those teachers, and it can be reinforced, and it must be reinforced in a positive way. Positive is everlasting. Positives change lives. Significant of positive, that should be your blood type. Be positive at all times. And so, with that being said, I will end it there, and we will go to the next question. Thank you. I hope I covered it very well.
Yes, I mean, with that being said, I have to recap on, really quick, let me recap on that. I love the way you connected students with a foundation or a movement called Capturing
Kids' Hearts.
What's it called?
Capturing Kids' Hearts.
Capturing Kids' Hearts. Yeah, that's awesome, because kids must know that you care. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I know you mentioned Maslow. I'm not going to go off into that. But, you know, connecting with students is something that, you know, the political gurus have failed to do. And there's a further complication in adversarial political systems for instance, Barack Obama, you know, he caught on to that, you know, with the Yes We Can movement. And I don't know if he came up with that slogan or not, but he in fact used it, and it was successful for his campaign in his first term. Office by virtue of party support, and then you know, they end up giving the community back those demands that they need as far as their interests, like in the community and things that you were talking about in the classroom and how we teach. And I think personally, that's a great point, you know, connecting with students, because if the employees can connect more with students and students know that they care, then that would, I think, bring about more, or that would heighten, or that would increase the performance output. Dr. Walter, let me ask you a question. I kind of want to tie that in to what Dr. Willie was saying here. So Dr. Walter, how do employees identify their job and their job environments as it impacts on employees' motivation, performance, and commitment?
Well, let me make sure that I've got the gist of what you're asking me. You're asking me whether the workplace environment affects workers' motivation, their performance, and ultimately their organizational commitment to their company. Is that correct?
I'm speaking, I guess I'm pulling from your psychological expertise. How do employees identify with their job environments as it relates to their motivation and their commitments with their...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you asked me, because, you know, when I was completing my research for my PhD, I focused on quality of work life and organizational organizational commitment. So I'm very excited to speak on this topic. You know, quality of work life is huge nowadays. First, let me just elaborate a little bit about what quality of work life is. And please keep in mind that in the past, quality of work life was not always a concern of many business owners. You know, years ago, many businesses are mainly concerned with their bottom line, not so much their employee satisfaction, and it didn't matter, you know, whether they had a family or how hard they worked or whether they were happy in their positions. It was just productivity that mattered. So, as far as quality of work life, Walton's theory originated back in the 70s, and it identified several items considered important to employees in their overall job satisfaction. He believed that, you know, quality of work life meant more than just meeting the needs of satisfaction by a 40-hour work week and workman's comp laws. And for time's sake, I'm only going to mention a few which I believe are relevant today, such as adequate and fair compensation, a safe and healthy work environment, the development of human capacities, and growth and security. But that was then. So fast forward to the 21st century, and quality of work life has been redefined to center around the well-being of employees, a safe and healthy work environment, the development of human capabilities that include job and growth and security. The definition, you know, has changed somewhat and redefined as an attempt to encourage working in an environment that maintains and upholds fulfillment by affording employees with rewards, job security, opportunities for growth. And here, I believe, Isaiah, the operative word here is fulfillment, meaning can the organization fulfill the employee's every need? Nowadays, fulfillment can make for happy employees. Many organizations today are diligently trying to achieve that delicate blend of work life and home life for their employees. They've come up with pretty effective quality of work life programs that are truly based on the working environments of employees and their employees. Here's the thing. Business owners have finally come to realize that a relationship between worker satisfaction and productivity and dissatisfaction and no productivity, they actually exist. They finally realized that in order to maintain or to improve productivity in the workplace, they must have what we refer to as happy employees, which leads me now to organizational commitment as a result of positive work environments. And as far as organizational commitment is concerned, however, an employee's organizational commitment may be based on many factors. These factors are very personal to each and every organization and its workplace environment. That would go for you, for me, for Professor Willie, or whatever. One theory that I examined when I was completing my own research in this arena was Porter et al.'s satisfaction to commitment mediation model that was penned in 1974. And OC was defined as, or organizational commitment was defined as the strength of an individual's identification with and involvement in a particular organization, and it was based on three factors. The first factor was a strong belief in and acceptance of the organization's goals and values. The second one was a willingness to exert considerable effort on behalf of the organization. And the third one was a definite desire to maintain organizational membership, or in other words, if they wanted to stay with the organization, they would do everything within their realm in order to survive and to stay in that organization. Therefore, what I would say is organizational commitment was largely based on the employee's perception, which related to their own personal quality of work life. So in closing, to answer your question as far as quality of work life and organizational commitment are concerned, what I've amassed is that if a goal of the organization is to be successful, then the corporation must realize that it is necessary to emphasize job satisfaction because it could in turn affect turnover and productivity. Basically, what I think is quality of work life does in fact affect employees' organizational commitment. There's a definite relationship between the two, which I proved in my study. So I hope you found this interesting topic for you.
I was calling the wow. Yes, please, because I got something to say too. Go ahead.
Man, my goodness, Dr. Rita, you just had me on the edge of my seat. I kid you not. Ma'am, I got some notes here as well. Listening to you talking, my mind was just spinning back and forth, and I became a visionary of seeing organizations that I've been associated with, and organizations that I've actually trained, and listen to all those things about job satisfaction and relationships. And one of the key things I heard about all of this, it was that R word, that relationship. That seemed to be a common thread of everything that I heard from you, and just about everything that I've said, everything that you have said. I'm picking up this common thread. Is the R word, that's relationship, and that
relationship, exactly,
major key component and understanding. You know, I think Stephen Covey, one of his statements, he said, "Seek first to understand and still be understood," which is one of his 7 habits. Listen to understand other people. So that's what I picked out of that, because each of us are different. And as an employer, it's responsible to meet me, not to meet we are all not in the same basket. We are all individuals, and I heard that all word. So that's my follow up, and I thank you for that. That was so enlightening.
Well, thank you. And I can continue your thoughts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you start talking about happy employees, you start talking about the factors in the workplace environment, and you start talking about models that they have used, that work and that don't work. And the first thing that came to me was a SWOT analysis, and that's, the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, trends, and threats. And I was like, okay, so now that has to be tied into the quality work life, right? As it relates to vision, okay? As it relates to competence, and as it relates to confidence. Because vision, just backtracking here real quick, every leader has to have vision. They got to know where they're going, right? And with the vision, they have to manage, right, people's competency, meaning their gifts, right, and their intellect or their intelligence. What is this person gifted at doing? What is this person intelligent doing? And then getting those people to train each other. You're gifted in doing this right here, and this person is kind of weak in this area. So these models have to come in place to strengthen or tighten the loose ends. Am I making sense?
Yes.
When I'm connecting what you're saying, Isaiah, that each one of us have our lane. And it's up to the employer to know what our lanes are. I need to work in my strength zone, not in my weak zone. My most productivity is going to take place in my strength zone. And in the areas that I'm not best at, then I got someone else going to work in that strength zone. So that becomes a form of delegation. And releasing my weak zone allows someone that's stronger in that area to be able to work that. So we have to know what our particular roles are in our organization. In order for the vision to manifest itself, we have to walk and work in our roles. And when I work in my strength zone, my job satisfaction go up because I feel comfortable in my strength zone versus my weak zone. I feel level of anxiety exists when I'm trying to work in my like the ambiguity is taking place. You're not sharing enough information with me, so I'm stressed, and so my job satisfaction is decreased. And once I'm competent, along with competence, I'm in my strength zone, so my job satisfaction and my productivity goes up.
Exactly.
That's hot.
This goes back to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago with leadership. And basically, not all people are good teachers and can lead at the same time. So you have to find an individual's strengths, and you must build upon those strengths. Because if you don't, then how is that going to help your organization? You hired that person for a reason. So what quality was it that I saw in that individual when I hired that individual? Maybe I'm not allowing them to spread their wings, if you know what I mean. So it depends on the leadership as well.
That was so good, and that brings. With that being said, that brings us to our next question, and this is like tied in. I think really.
Oh my goodness.
It's a tight knit, sir. It's a tight knit. Actually, since you sound so excited, I'm gonna ask you the next question, here, Professor Willie. What are the major what are the major issues you've seen emerging in educational leadership practices in order to improve human society as a whole?
Okay, and I got 5, and I'm going to read you the preempted paragraph, and then I'll get into my 5 that talks about that, and it's just going to just exaggerate on what Dr. Walter has said. It's just going to highlight what we've all. This is kind of a culmination. It might not be the end, but it's certainly all tied in together. And it talks about this, and this part of my leadership philosophy. If you want to look at it, Jeff Willie's leadership philosophy. Whether you are a leader in your home, and see, that Dr. Tony Evans made a profound statement. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Tony Evans. He's a local pastor here at the radio broadcaster, and just a phenomenal man. And said, if you want better nations, if you want a better world, with better nations, I'm paraphrasing, of course, with better states, populated, better cities, better neighborhoods, better churches and schools, better families, and then I must become a better person. And I paraphrase that. I have to go and pull it out, but I must become a better person. And I can say we collectively, but still, I need to look in the mirror and say, I need to become a better person. So it goes to my leadership philosophy. When I'm a leader in my home, my school, my church, or my business, my leadership is not about me. My leadership is to service to mankind, a calling larger than me. I sacrifice my leadership for the needs of others. I accept responsibility for my actions and make no excuses for my shortcomings. I seek and obtain personal and professional knowledge and skills and continue to enhance those skills in my particular field of studies. See, I can't add value to others unless I'm adding value to myself. And so here are my 5. Leaders are people-focused. Leaders are visionaries. Leaders fosters a growth mindset environment. Leaders encourage rewards and risk-taking. Leaders respect and develop a productive relationship with each member of their team. Great leaders know the way, and great leaders show the way. And that's my summation. That's Jeff Willie's leadership philosophy. That's what I focus on consistently, intentionally, and try to employ that and apply that daily, is to add value to others as I add value to myself. And emerging right now, especially with working with my educational leaders, with my educational leaders, and I am trying to shift that paradigm because most educational leaders operate autonomously. They operate on an island, and we're trying to build that team. My workshop right now is the 17 indisputable laws of teamwork, trying to bring that together. They cannot operate. There's no such thing as an I in team. One cannot accomplish greatness. We can only accomplish greatness. And that's emerging right now. If you look at some of the other things that educational leaders are doing, that's what they're coming together and trying to understand that because of the value of our community and the value of our leaders, which are our children. I don't like saying the children are the leaders of tomorrow. The children are the leaders of today because tomorrow is not promised. We only hope for tomorrow. So we have to be empowering them to make decisions, to take risks today. That's Jeff Willie's education philosophy. That's what I see emerging. That's what I'm out there promoting through my John Maxwell and leadership development. That's when I go into churches. That's what I'm focusing on. I'm teaching those leaders to grow leaders, not to grow followers, to grow leaders.
You have so much drive. Both of you do have so much drive, and that is. I'm glad you brought that up because that is a problem that I see. I see leaders. Leaders need to understand that you cannot lead in isolation. I mean, you have to respond appropriately to the needs of the people, which means you have to be touching them, right? You got to be shoulder to shoulder. You got to be arm to arm, hand to hand. You have to get your hands dirty. I'm sorry. Away with all these clean-handed leaders, okay? You have to roll those sleeves up sometimes and go out there and connect with people. You're going to have to connect. Because they know if you're authentic, they know if you care about them. That goes back to what you're saying. People know that you care by when you get involved. When you get involved, then they know that you care. And this is how you serve mankind, right? By caring and getting involved and actually, hand to hand. And I love what you said, leaders are people focused. Because I believe hospitality is a gift. I believe generosity is a gift. Okay? And whenever you use those gifts, okay, there is a reward. Every Christmas time, we go out and buy gifts for our loved ones. That is a reward to be able to buy your loved one, or it should be a reward to be able to go out and buy your loved one what they put on the Christmas list that year, right? And so I love that. I really love that. Dr. Walter, that brings us to our next question.
Can I follow up with that? I'm sorry, Dr. Well, I just want to add this right quick because he said gifts. And this is it right here. Your gifts are not about you. Leadership is not about you. Your purpose is not about you. A life of significance is about serving those who need your gifts, your leadership, and your purpose.
That is so beautiful. Dr. Walker, do you have anything to say? Because I'm about to ask you a very hard question.
I was just shaking my head in agreement. Yes, it's very, very true. Yes.
You are preaching, sir. You are preaching.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Well, I guess we need to take up an offering pretty soon. Dr. Walter.
Yes.
That brings us to my next question.
Okay.
How is organizational commitment? Because I know that's one of your major fortes. And so, how is educational commitment for educators affected by? You ready for this? I know I'm about to.
I'm ready.
It's loaded.
I hope so.
How is it affected by? Some people call it EI, but it's emotional intelligence.
Well, let's see. Emotional intelligence is, let me put it this way. It's how well an individual recognizes and monitors his or her own emotions as well as the emotion of others. Okay, let me try to explain that. So fundamentally speaking, emotional intelligence influences his or her motivation and behavior, and this includes like 4 key elements, such as that individual's self-awareness, that individual's self-management, social skills, and relationship management. Okay, as far as, the field of education is in the business of educating our young. Okay, they're essential for shaping their future. And so, with that being said, the young who we educate today are our future leaders of tomorrow. Does that make sense? I think so. Okay, so in the grand scheme of things, teachers are crucial to us in every way possible. That includes starting from parents as teachers in the home, pastors or deacons and mentors as teachers in the church, teachers and counselors in the schools. This also includes teachers in the community and within the neighborhood. Let's not forget those educators in the School of Hard Knocks. They should be included as well, And so emotional intelligence, I think, for teachers is a huge part of that process. My understanding for EI, or emotional intelligence, in easy terms, is described as, an ability to understand one's own feelings. Okay, and as a result can lead to the individual's fulfillment. And as far as teachers' emotional intelligence is concerned, there is no difference in this field for teachers as with any other industry per se. Look, when we examine the correlation between teachers' emotional intelligence and organizational commitment, the same ideas are applicable and based on factors that I previously mentioned, such as the need to stay within an organization. The employers in this case are the school districts and the principals of the school. The field of education is not exempt because education itself is a business. In this case, the same factors I mentioned before are applicable and very personal to each and every teacher. However, not each and every teacher will be satisfied or dissatisfied when it comes to the district, the school, or principal for that matter, or that principal's beliefs. I believe it truly depends on the depth of the individual teacher and his or her own emotional influence. And I passively mentioned one word a little while ago, a few moments ago, which was fulfillment. And I realized that particular word can be considered the elephant in the room. Fulfillment means to that individual, can the organization fulfill the employee's every need? Fulfillment meaning by giving teachers excellent and increased salaries, by offering job security, by providing them with supplies for which they need to teach, by providing them with a safe and protected environment, particularly nowadays, by rewarding them for their successes and accomplishments with students who some considered never had a chance, by affording them opportunities for growth in their careers. So there's no difference, really. My friends, let me say, nowadays, fulfillment can make for happy employees. We're going back to happy employees now. It's personal to them, meaning that that teacher make a difference in at least one child's life. If yes, then it's possible that educator's emotional intelligence has been satisfied, thus leading to organizational commitment. Okay? So organizational commitment, therefore, is largely based on employees' perception, which relates to their own quality of work life. That, I believe, Dr. Isaiah, that's the answer for organizational commitment for educators. So in closing, to answer your question as far as emotional intelligence and organizational commitment are concerned, is that if a goal of the corporation is to be successful, then the educational system must realize that it is necessary for an emphasis to be placed directly on the teacher's job satisfaction, because it could turn, in fact, it can in effect turnover and productivity. And that's all I have to say about that. I hope
that was so interesting. That was interesting, but it also was enlightening because you know why I say that? It's another form of educational leadership. I mean, it's like we're in the ring here, and it's like, one glove says, my left glove says educational, and my right glove says leadership, and it's like boom, education, boom, leadership, educational leadership, and that really knocked me out the ring. Yeah, and so that really knocked me out the ring, because, right? And it's like, because we come from the school of hard knocks when it comes to education, because now our kids have been so dummied down, right, by technology. And I know we talked about this last week, how you measure education with technology in the mix, where you got to do assessments, but also with that, you have to, some researchers have even quoted some of the researchers, that they've suggested that now it takes kids, now I'm not trying to offend anybody, but it says it takes kids like 70 iterations of telling them the same thing in repetition before they actually understand it. So if you're telling a kid to, example, put up your phones, it could take up to 70 times before they get it and they actually put up their phones. So that helps us out, right, as far as being educators, because, hey, I'm not gonna flip my top until the 70th time, right? So I know I got 70 times before I just get totally frustrated and say, hey, put up your phone, right? Because I know now, because of technology, right, because of cell phones, it takes them a longer time to understand.
Right.
There's a couple of things I like to share with what Dr. Walter said in regards to that satisfaction and educational commitment. And I'm not sure exactly who came up with this quote. I have to go back and dig it out, but it just came to my mind while she was talking. And it said, if you don't feed the teachers, they will eat the kids.
That's almost like growing up in New York. You get eaten, or you eat, or you get eaten alive. Yes,
you get eaten alive, and that meaning is that the educators, those leaders, must take care of those teachers. Those teachers are at the front line every day, and those parents are not keeping their best kids at home. They're sending to school what they have. And those teachers need to be supported, need to be cared for, and that leader, or that campus leader, must be responsible for taking care of that, for those teachers to take care of those students. That's got to be that connection. That's got to be the focus. My job as an educational leader and leader on that campus is to be to take care. And you've heard this before, too. The customer knows best. The customer is always right. You've heard that in businesses. And sometimes whatever the customer says, you've probably heard that before. But guess what? If you don't take care of that cash register, if you don't take care of that greeter at the front door, if you don't take care of that person that's stocking the aisle or helping you try on that pair of shoes, if you don't take care of those people and you're concerned about your bottom line, you won't have a bottom line until you take care of those people.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, so that's where I take on that. I really look at those levels of serving people. You have to serve that person. I have to serve my client and my employees, and so they can serve the customer. Because if they're happy, and they're gonna smile when a customer walks in the door.
Exactly.
That is so true. Mm-hmm. That is so true.
Very true.
Well, with that being said, what are your takeaways? Because apparently time has slipped past us and we're out of time. So who wants to go first? Who wants to go? No, that was excellent. Who wants to go first?
Would you like to, Doctor? I can go first, Dr. Walter, if you don't mind.
No, you can go ahead.
Yes, Dr. Drone, you said that one of the things I've noticed about what we do, and just being able to listen to Dr. Walter, we are very passionate about what we do, and I'm passionate about what our subject is. And it's not about us. We are passionate about it because we want to use it to serve others. People connection and relationship. That's why we are passionate about what we do. That's why we have so much energy. That's why I get excited about what I do and get really enthusiastic about this panel to be able to share what's on my heart, because I do. My focus is that other folks is going to listen to this and they will be blessed by it, and they will be changed by it, and they'll become better. If I can impact one person, I'm good. I'm okay. I want to impact a lot, but I'm certainly, if I can change one, and then one may be to set 1,000 to flight. And that's where I am with it. So Dr. Walter, Dr. Drone, I really appreciate you guys allowing me, and
we appreciate you.
Part of this.
Oh, I definitely appreciate you. Definitely.
Yeah, we both appreciate both of you guys as well, and you are excited. I remember you've been calling me off the hook here, Professor Willie, and I've been like, okay, that's Professor Willie. I'm just kidding. Dr. Walter, what are your takeaways from tonight?
Are you talking to me? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yes, Dr. Walter, what's your takeaway for tonight?
I've gotten a lot of insight from Professor Willie and yourself as well, and my feeling is that it's very similar to Dr. Willie's. That if I can change just one person's ideas or one person's, influence one person's life, then I've done something worthwhile. And I'm hoping that I can continue to live up to that. And, like I said, I come from the South Bronx. And so to be in a position to be able to help or to be able to give back in that capacity, that's what I'm all for. So if I can change one person, there are many people who contributed to my becoming a success. So I'm hoping that I, in turn, can do the same for someone else.